And to make it clear as well, I can even show you that the UFO phenomenon here in Varginha is not just from the 1996 case.
But did you live here in Varginha? You still have your business here, right? Do you get along well with the community, with people? Yes. At any point, you don't have to say the name if you don't want to, but did you ever meet any military personnel from ESA, since you also served at ESA?
You came in 83, right?
Did they tell you anything about the Varginha case?
Look, I'm going to tell you because you're a friend, okay? And because it's a very delicate subject, okay? Of course, I knew some of them, and that's not all. I have something that I'm going to share with you, okay? Making it very clear to you all, the case itself, as we talked about at our ufology meetup, right? It's like a patchwork quilt that you put together over time, okay? I respect those who say they saw something, who say they saw a craft, and so on. As for me, I have a conviction ever since I started looking into it, if I may say so, I know time is short, but that there were 6 creatures. Now, whether they were the same, at first people thought I was crazy. They said there were 2. No, why? Because one was seen on the highway, another was seen in Passos, and then there's Eloy Mekara, in total 6. But why did you come to that conclusion? First, with all due respect to the pilot's point of view, right? Carlos Alves, the ultralight pilot, he's not the Carlos de Souza. He was coming from São Paulo at the time and saw an object, okay? But here's the thing. This was on the 13th, I don't remember, the 13th, right? We're talking about a week before the case. There was more than one object. If it was truly an object that fell, it was accidental and not just a single item, since if it had fallen, it couldn't have been reassembled.
And then another one fell on the night of the 19th to the 20th.
Yeah, and it flew low over Mrs. Aurelina and Mr. Eurico's farm. By the way, we have a small farm in Flora. I don't know if we'll have time, but I wanted to mention it because with all this rain, where I have it, up on the hill, I sent you a photo. Maybe later we can go there. Down below is the valley. The object, if it went that way, passed through that valley because Aurelina and Eurico's farm is to the right, towards Tres Corações, okay? At first, they woke up in the middle of the night to a noise. He heard it. It sounded like a minibus, all of that, which people already know, and he got scared. And this object slowly was gaining. And by the way, I don't know if we'll be able to film here. I don't think so. It comes from this position here. Look, let's see if it'll work. Because my office is downstairs. Up there is a supermarket, right?
There, that yellow one, right?
It came from the left. Jardim André is here on the right. It passed by.
It passed through Jardim André.
Yes, exactly.
He went to Eloy Mendes. Which way is it from here?
Over there, okay? That way. So if Eurico and Eurelina's uncle is this way, look. So do you understand? So here's the thing. My theory, my thought is that if this object was hit by a missile or a laser or whatever, okay? That's just my opinion, all right? I've always held that view. I've never changed that opinion. I don't think anyone ever asked me. This second object, they told me there was more, okay? You must be researching it there. There are people from Cruzeiro. I'll tell you about them later. A sighting in Cruzeiro, which is also close by, okay? This object, the second one, was also, let's say, damaged or something like that. And I think for it to take off, to manage, then you say, well, the guy has the technology to talk there. I don't know, I'm just saying something. They started dumping something. Then they asked me, discarded what? With all due respect, for me, the creatures were not the ones in command of the aircraft. That's my opinion. But just by strength, no, that, I don't know. We have cats, we have dogs, no, but that's my opinion. The command there, maybe one or another came down together, but said, look, let's discard what we have to try. That's my theory, okay? And this object went, but here's the thing, it didn't fall. I don't think it fell here in Jardim André. For it to leave, I'm not sure if you get me. It comes from right here, see? Jardim André. Jardim releases its cargo, let's say. It goes to the left and heads toward Eloy Mendes, passes, I don't know, that's it. I'd say there would be more people who saw this object in that direction.
But Eurico Aurelina, were you there too? I was already there. Remember he said the object went and then came back?
No, he said when I went there, there's even a recording from Aviation Cipo. He said the object went and ascended so much so that I went there afterwards.
Did he say it goes and comes back? No?
I don't think so. No? In the recordings I have, every time it goes in one direction, it ascends. And here's the thing, which was very interesting, because he has a little pasture. If we assume there's intelligence behind it, it would say, look, there's a hill here. If I go straight, I'll crash. So I have to. So there was some intelligence in control. You'll see later in the testimony, okay? So, in my humble opinion. But here's the thing, going back, so we talked about this one.
Yeah, I was wondering if any military personnel from ESA had said anything to you guys.
Not necessarily. It was from someone else later, okay? So I prefer, but that
Is related to the case.
related to the case, and it's going to be really interesting, okay? We'll talk about that later in private, off the record, okay? Because I think that for 30 years now, I don't know, the national security issue, 25,
25?
secret, top secret. 30 many have already died.
They've already passed. Yeah, it would have expired, right?
So what happens? I'm just going to make a few comments, okay? When you presented on the podcast, I don't remember if it was with Varela, was it? You said that a helicopter belonged to the Navy.
Yes, one was Navy, but there's also one from the Air Force.
But what happens? According to some information, there were 2 helicopters. Actually, there were 3, 2 Puma, and a third one came, which may have been the Navy one. But actually, the operation was carried out with 2 Puma helicopters.
That's because the Navy's helicopter took the creature to Aramar, which was a Navy facility. Now, besides those helicopters, I've never mentioned this before, but here in Varginha at that time, an F-5 landed.
Look, I didn't hear about it, but I'll tell you about it later, okay? I'm telling you in confidence because some things happened afterwards. It's something really, well, strange when I got some material, okay? That was given to me. I sent it by mail to Varginha, to Geraldo Bichara. For him, he said, send it. Why didn't I send it straight to Vila Jardim? Because my closest relationship was with Bichara. And what happened? That envelope never reached Bichara.
It didn't arrive.
And I'll show you later.
You didn't want it to be intercepted if it went straight to Vila Jardim, so you sent it somewhere else and it got intercepted.
And I have a document. What was it again? I wrote to Vila Jardim. I have it here. I'll show you the date. Everything's correct, dear. And see that material we talked about straight to Bichara. But Bichara, he didn't receive it. He said, stop. So I came in June, brought it, showed it to him. And he said, look, that's when, let's say, I started to stay more out of it. There you go, you say, but out of fear. I don't know, it's not really fear, but it's something I mentioned. I'm going to leave it alone because, you're researching. There's a lot of stuff. Did you see? Dr. Itro, who is a rheumatologist, was my doctor, a neurologist, gave his testimony, and other doctors.
Doctor, Italo's reputation here in the city is excellent.
He took care of me as a doctor, neurologist, treated my family, always an upright person, okay? In fact, my son, at the time he passed away, was treated at Humanitas. He worked there and at the regional hospital, but just to clarify, just to add something, we'll talk about it privately later, right? To go over the timeline, I don't know if you know it too. Buffalo airplane. Some people commented at the time that a radar came from Canoa's airbase, but it wasn't from Canoas. Where was it from? From Rio de Janeiro. Along with this supposed radar, in other words, a group of military personnel came there who were the Yellow Capes. Do you know what the Yellow Capes are? No. They were a group of paratroopers from Campo dos Afonsos, okay? Because I don't know. And where did they land? That's the thing. It was in Varginha, not at the Tres Corações airfield, which is in Tres Corações. Cambuquira.
So it landed there, from what I heard. The helicopter, since it has enough range, it's easier for it to land. They landed?
They unloaded canoes and more canoes. This is a polo field. Look,
I can tell you something. I already got information from another military man from ESA who told me exactly what you're confirming.
I'm telling you, but you're going to see something there. Look, I'm telling you. This is what we get, and I'm telling you. I'm giving up a lot of things. I'm going to pass a lot of things on to you because it's no use. You're the one who has to spread it. You're the one who has to move it forward. Polo field. In January, you'll notice that there aren't that many soldiers on the polo field because January is just starting. The Army Sergeant School is a school that trains sergeants. So at the beginning, that's the lower ranking personnel. That's the operational staff there. Because if it were during an exercise period, it would be crowded, even with horses. Of course, the horses wouldn't be there because they would be taken out, but it was on the polo field. Another detail, just my opinion, that truck that supposedly went to Campinas, I'm sorry, that's not true. It didn't go to Campinas, the truck. I'm not sure you understand, but I know the distance because I travel for work. Sometimes I'm in Campinas, and if you take the Dom Pedro Highway from here, it's 275 kilometers by truck. And by truck, carrying a creature or two or three and maybe something else. Sorry, but I don't agree. I respect it, but I don't know your opinion. It was by helicopter. Do you think it was by helicopter? It might have been a cover-up. What does that mean? I say, look, send that truck, take the box, take whatever, but make it look unrelated, cover it up. And actually, the main thing goes by helicopter. Do you agree with me? It's much faster.
Actually, both happened because we have information from Unicamp, from SPCX as well, because it didn't go straight to Unicamp. They switched drivers at SPCX to take it to Unicamp. And so we got information that Badam himself was the one who did all the work along with Dr. Fatima's team. And there were 3 creatures there. Since there were more creatures, one of them was taken to Aramar.
But can I just add something?
And one we know today had an autopsy done in Juiz de Fora at the HGL. Look.
I didn't know. And can I say something? There must be a creature if it wasn't consumed by some bacteria. I think there's still a creature out there. There must be one here. Yeah, in Brazil.
It could be here. It must have died already, right?
But then I say this. You take such an important being and transport it by truck, bumping along. How long did it take us to get there by car? When the weather's good, 4 hours, 5 if it rains, an army truck, man, I don't remember.
Even though the convoy was only on the 4th.
Yeah, it was January 4th.
Yeah.
So, Edison, I think there's still a lot that needs to be clarified, okay? And you're right, the research is out there. Whatever we can do to help. Because making money off of this, I don't want that. Me neither. And besides, we like the subject. We talk to people, walk around the street, like, hey, what's up? You've done your own research. What do you think? A big part of it is this.
There are things that sometimes people make up, exaggerate, but something did happen. Yeah.
And what happens? As you've already said on your podcast, a truck used to come here to Automar, which was a Mercedes dealership. Because he was the owner. The owner's son, Luciano Resende, studied in Rio. His father, the grandfather, was the owner of Automar for these dealerships. There are some that don't even open on Saturdays, or if they do, only until noon.
Automar didn't open either?
It didn't open, no, so that's just an excuse. It was...
An excuse to justify the movement?
Mudinho, can I tell you the truth? I lived in Varginha. I still live here. I come and go. I've never seen... Can I tell you? I've never seen this guy.
You've never seen Mudinho?
I've never seen Mudinho. I knew this Mudinho existed.
Me, Adão, I've seen him. I've even taken a picture with him and everything. And he really is kind of hunched over, but it wasn't Mudinho. First, because at the time the girls saw him there in Jardim André, he was at Marcon's gym. There are witnesses who said
they saw him going down there.
He was there. And in the IPM, he said it was Mudinho, that it was Mudinho. He was covered in mud because it had rained. But at the time the girls saw him, it hadn't rained yet. Damn, so it can't be Mudinho. It doesn't make sense. So what happens now? We have now, in the present, Birajara, right? He used to fiercely defend the case. He comes out in public and says on television that it was Mudinho, period. In other words, what the girls saw, I mean, this photo is really strange.
You know, respect, once again, just to make it clear to you, I have the utmost appreciation for Dr. Amigo. Like I said, he graduated with my father. He's at the law school, right? At the university, I don't know. I respect opinions. I could be saying, look, sorry, but I don't want to talk about this subject. But no, I like the subject. I think it's interesting. I can contribute, but I respect his opinion. Okay? We have to respect it for some reason.
Who knows, since we don't know?
We don't know. Then there are the conspiracy theories.
There are all kinds of speculations, but maybe one of them is right, or maybe not, or maybe not.
Right? One reason for the pressure is that he took part in the Medifondo investigation.
Him and Pacatini.
And you know that when you sit in there, when you go into a command surrounded by officers, you've been there, you've seen it, right?
4 hours. They spent 4 hours without being able to go to the bathroom.
Look at that. Something happened, right? And I didn't want to. It's just that I wouldn't want to be in their shoes.
Even though, well, in Pacatini's book, it's what came out in the IPM. I was taking a look at everything. My name is crossed out there, Boaventura. Hey, I don't know, but I wasn't called. Claudia wasn't called either.
How many were there?
Only two, the main ones, right? The ones who were in the media, right? Putting themselves out there.
So, just to be clear, I have the utmost respect and consideration for Dr. Birajara. I haven't spoken to him in a long time, okay? And I respect not only him, but everyone who doesn't speak out, okay, because it's a delicate subject. And when it comes to ufology, I do talk about it. This guy is crazy, huh? Wow, this guy smokes weed. This guy drinks some tea. This guy, so it's a situation. But I've always, since I was a kid, everyone says he likes it, huh? Is there someone like that in your family too? You too? Really? Since when did it show up? Was it in Guaroha, right? Yeah.
It was in 81, so yeah.
This has to continue. There's still a lot to be discovered. Varginha is a city, but it's more than that. Sometimes I get upset, man. It's such a small city. Back then it was, okay, there were about 90,000 people. Today there are 140,000. It's a hub city. I don't know if you know, we have the World Coffee Championship. We have 4 or 5 distribution centers for big chains here, big ones. Mercado Libre, Boticario. So it's a hub city, okay? I don't know if it was Kadu and tea. Okay, but what is this? The situation has improved, right? Okay? And once again,
I'm available. And so, futurism here, nowadays we see that futurism is something very striking.
Here at City Hall, by the way, the mayor studied with me. Leonardo Ciasso is fantastic. Before it was Verdi, right, who was even our accountant. At the time of representation, a trustworthy person, he was doing a great job. And I think that's exactly what needs to be done. Futurism is something that can be done. It can be improved. Up there, we have the museum, right? You guys must already have the E.T. Memorial, right? The E.T. Memorial. So is it there today? It wasn't like this before. Today, it's very well organized. People arriving, even about hotels. I'm not sure which ones you're checking. I wanted to know if there's already a script provided by the tourism department, since we organized this event here before. Wasn't it Secretary Sebastian who started things off? Do you remember? This UFO Minas, it was here in 2004. Yeah, I even gave a lecture. I lived here, but I gave a lecture from Paraná, okay? It wasn't because of the case. That was the first UFO Minas. I think it was the UFO magazine, which was in 2004. At the time, the Secretary of Tourism was Sebastião. They started investing in marketing and tourism because when people arrive, they need to know where the place is. Nobody knew. It's closed. I don't know if it's still closed today.
It still is? The City Hall bought it.
Bought the land, right?
And they're going to set up a spot there.
A UFO-themed tourist spot over there. Someone said they're going to sell souvenirs and everything. And I think that's about it, right? In fact, look here for you guys.
This one's from Varginha, right?
This one's from Varginha here, Mr. Geraldo, who did a really nice job. Here, you have a button. Here is where it is. Here's the power button.
Right.
Look, turns off and on. Cool, right? Cool. Then people come from out of town. They want to take a souvenir, a t-shirt. So this promotes the city. Whether you like it or not, something happened here, right?
Welington Faria would wrap up our chat here. In your view, what are they?
In all my lectures, I always say this because you find all kinds of people, you too. We've given lectures all over Brazil. We've done some in the South. One time, a guy came up and said, wow, they are our gods. Even Eric, who said they were astronaut gods. Sometimes I think for me, regardless of religion, you have your religion, God above, and then we're here, you know? I never will. Cataloged as you surpassed me, not because of IQ level or anything, but never above God, because God created us and others. That's what I say. We are here on Earth, our planet. There are black, white, brown, mixed race, Japanese, Chinese, and Hungarian people. It's a mix of races. Why not there? And I remember, I really like to recall that passage. Do you remember it too? In my Father's house, there are many mansions. It sounds like a cliche, but isn't that what the Father's house is? They asked me, what do you think? Is Jesus Christ an alien? I respect it, but I think when you mix religion with ufology, it's very delicate, right? But do you know what happened with John the 23rd at the castle? Randolph, right? Later you can tell people that he received an entity, right? A being back in 67, 61, 61, and others. It seems to me that I saw it today, the 23rd today, right? That Donald Trump has on his desk. I don't know if a document that at any moment he might comment about the beings.
The revelation?
Revelation. Is it because I am? We got into this post when this could also be a conspiracy theory, but there was let's put it this way, or my Portuguese teacher will be upset. Did you hear about reports of the invasion in Venezuela? From a soldier who was interviewed. How was it? No, there were about 110 of us in his security detail. First drones, several drones, then 4 or 5 helicopters landed and a descending silence that broke us. We were bleeding. It's like a magnetic wave. And they were shooting like crazy, 300 rounds. Could it be that there's already alien technology there? Of course there is. I believe there is. Of course there is. And yesterday in Davos, today Trump gave an interview talking about the weaponry. Look, you can't imagine what we have. Of course I know I can imagine. And Roosevelt, he took everything he put together. There are theories that after Roswell, things like the touchscreen, Kevlar, and night vision came about.
Drone?
The drone itself. So, Edson, I believe the following. We have to, regardless of religion, oh, I'm evangelical, Protestant, I'm Catholic, Spiritist. Let's open our minds. Let's start first before it's what I always say, before talking about a subject, do some research and get a little more informed, because you know what I'm talking about, right? Not to mention the bandwagon jumpers, right? Wow, there are so many bandwagon jumpers out there. So let's talk. The more people come to help, that's great. But guys, keep your feet on the ground with all due respect. I respect everyone. Oh, I'm from this or that group. I respect that. But there are things that are just absurd.
Right, that you just can't unsee.
And that's it, my friend. We're here at your disposal in Varginha.
So that's it, folks. I wanted to thank Welington once again. And that's it. Later, he'll share some more things with me. We're going to do some work together. He doesn't want to show up too much since he's already hanging up his boots.
No, but we'll help however we can.
But that's it. We're after the truth, both me and Welington. Exactly. So if you liked it, click the like button, leave your comments, and see you in the next show with Edison Boaventura. Thanks, okay? See you.